Okay, what was your earliest memory?
Well, my earliest memory is when I was 5 years old, and we were driving out of the yard from this house where we were moving, and I could tell that adults something serious had happened, and it turned out it was the start of World War II for the United States, Pearl Harbor.
Mm-hmm.
So it was December 7th, 1941. I can't remember things earlier than that, but that's my first memory is the adults so concerned that we were in a war.
How would you describe the first moment when you saw your child?
Well, Chris was our firstborn, and when I went into the hospital, all of a sudden, first of all, it was just wonderful, but I felt the responsibility. Like I realized that, this little guy depends on me as well as my wife, and it just made the seriousness of my life all of a sudden go to a deeper level. And I'm very thankful to the Lord that he was healthy.
Mm-hmm. I think the dog agrees with you.
Okay.
Do you remember when your last child left for home?
We just had two boys, that were a year apart, and Paul is the second one, the youngest.
Mm-hmm.
And when he went off to college, I assumed I would drive him to college. And he said, well, you don't need to do this, Dad. I've got my car. And Carolee was working at the fair, so she wasn't home. I was used to always a bunch of activity around the house. Here, Paul was leaving, said he didn't need my help. And I went in the house, there's nobody there. And I was very sad. And it bothered me so much that I actually got in my car,
Mm-hmm.
just drove around to be around people and the car moving or something, because it was tough.
Yeah. Do you have any favorite stories about Pablo and Chris?
Favorite story? Well, I remember them. I remember them we'd be sleeping in bed on Saturday morning or something,
Mm-hmm.
and we'd hear them in the kitchen. And they would be climbing up on the cupboards, getting into the sugar or whatever, and cooking and eating, and they could climb. You couldn't believe how the two of them could climb. They could climb up the sides. They could just put their bare feet and hands on the sides of a door jamb and just go up like monkeys. And it was so fun to have them around. So that's one of my great memories.
I think Farfar wanted to talk about his favorite travel.
Oh yeah, talk about your travels.
Yeah, one thing I'm so appreciative that I could travel. Our first travel opportunity was in 1982, and we took with a group from PLU to go to China, and that was just to see another culture and everything. But one of my favorite trips was when we went to India and Nepal and Bangkok. My parents went, my mother and father, and the fellow that led this named Lute Jerstedt had graduated from PLU with me, and he was one of the first Americans to climb Mount Everest. So he knew the Sherpas and everybody over there. So he took his mother, and there was a group of others. And one of the things we first did was stay up in a tree house, and elephants came up there, and we got on their backs and went out and looked for rhinoceros and tigers and things. That was very interesting. Then we flew in a small plane around Mount Everest, and that was thrilling to see Mount Everest up close. Went into a Sherpa's home, the father of the Sherpa that had taken him down off the mountain because he had got somewhat injured when coming off of Everest. And then to see the Taj Mahal, which is one of the most beautiful buildings in the world, but also the great poverty. But that was an incredible trip to India and Nepal and Bangkok.
You guys have anything else?
I don't think so.
You have any questions for us you'd like me to try?
What's your favorite food? Can you repeat the question for the
Wait,
audience?
wait a minute, let me think a minute.
The audience, since you're by the mic, can you just ask his favorite food?
What is your favorite food?
It is so hard for me to answer that because I like pecan pie a la mode, and I, just had that recently. But I like so many foods that it is hard for me to pick one out. But I'm just thankful that I like a great range of foods. But pecan pie a la mode may be one of top ones.
Pecan pie.
Do you have a favorite book?
Yeah, what's your favorite book
Now let me think here a minute.
besides the Bible?
Well, you know, there's a devotional by Henry Nouwen that I enjoy reading one little page each day on that devotional. But, you know, one of the books that really touched me was Crime and Punishment, Dostoevsky. I got sick one time. I was in bed for several weeks or something. I can't remember the details. But I read Crime and Punishment, and it was so realistic. One part of it in there is when they're so poor, and they've got this mule pulling this donkey pulling this cart, and the guy beating this thing, and I happen to share that with Carol Lee, and she so loves animals, especially horses, so much. It's tough.
All right. How about your biggest challenge in life?
Yeah, what's your biggest challenge in life?
Well, my biggest challenge, wow. Well, you know, I would say to try to live to the Christian standard that I know I should live to. You know, I know I should do a lot of things more to serve other people, and I don't seem to get around to doing it very well. So to live the life that I know Christ would like me to live is very tough, and that's probably my greatest challenge.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Goodbye.
Bye.